Hello and welcome to another bout of HughesRound. I'm back in the studio again, my basement, with my beautiful new microphone. Hopefully you're hearing me loud and clear and not too echoey. Unfortunately, my computer fan is making lots of noise, so if you can hear a slight whirring in the background, that's my stupid computer that's having a heart attack about, I don't know, being attached to Google or something. Yes, it is the, the 18th. It's Friday, the 18th of December, 2020. We still haven't sorted out this oven-ready deal with the EU. We've heard Michel Barnier this morning saying there's only a few hours left to get a deal because, God love them. They want to go home for Christmas. Imagine, right? If your neighbours were being absolute arseholes, were being just the most obnoxious dickheads in the world. They had called you. They said that you were communist. You were part of the USSR. They had said that you behaved like the commandants of a concentration camp. They said all these horrible things about you. Then they were going to try and ruin your business for no good reason, and they made you pay more money to just live your life normally as you had done up to that point. And then, to add insult to injury, they're like, we want you to work over Christmas. No, we want you to come into work like what Scrooge used to do to was it Bob Marley or whatever, the guy who worked for him? I don't think it was Bob Marley. It was something like that. Anyway, Cratchit. That's the one. Something Cratchit. He made him work over Christmas, didn't he? And gave him half a day off because it was Christmas. And he asked for a raise and he got very angry, I think. I can't remember. Do you know what? I probably read the book somewhere in the mist of time, but it's been overtaken in my head by the Muppets Christmas Carol. So that's the definitive version of the story as far as I'm concerned now. So anyway, so that seems like something that Ebenezer Scrooge would do. Make someone work over Christmas. And that's exactly what Boris Johnson and the rest of the lying, thieving spivs in the British government, are trying to do to our NATO allies for literally no good reason other than fish and blue passports. Yay! So we're going to discuss a little bit about that later, and we're also going to discuss, obviously, the ongoing war on COVID, which we are losing. We are losing pathetically, we are losing epically, and we're losing because the people in charge are idiots. If they weren't idiots, we wouldn't be in this situation. And we wouldn't have, what is it now, the third highest death toll in the world per person? Proportion of population? Per person, per head of population. There you go. Don't get me people say that pickle. Me peppers in a pickle. Anyway, I'm just going to say a quick hello to everyone. Let them eat fish. Chocasal says hello. The Freckle Peony says bonjour. Bonjour tout le monde. That means bonjour to all the world, I think, from Choxal over there. I don't think all the world are watching this. I wish they were. That would be cool, but probably not. Howdy says Huitian 125. Heidi Hi Campers says Darren. Heidi Hi. Elizabeth Bennett says, hi Graham, here today but been catching up on missed days, so enjoyed as a little common sense so enjoyed as little common sense available. I guess yes, you common sense is a rare commodity these days. And the thing is with common sense, it's something that the right wing always used to bash people over their head with. It's just common sense. It's just common sense. But with Brexit, common sense has gone out the window and they can't use it as defence anymore. So they it's just common sense, isn't it? To, I don't know, put up trade barriers with your closest trading neighbours and make them pay more for all your goods and make a huge big line of lorries running from the Eurostar terminal at the end of the M20 all the way up the M20, pretty much halfway back to London. Yeah, great. Yeah, that's not common sense, obviously. So they can't use it anymore. So we should co-opt it. We should say, no, we're just using common sense. And then when some Brexiteers going, blah, 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 fish, blah, 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 blue passports, you go, common sense. Is this common sense? Is this common sense? Because that just undermines what they're saying. because they have for years banged on about common frickin' sense and the common market, obviously, which they hate. How dare we give our farmers subsidies? Brrr. Let them grow their crops for no money, or increase the price of food by about 500%. Okay, so how dare UNICEF feed our kids? Yes. Well, there's two ways of taking that, Darren. For the how dare our politicians, including Rees-Mogg, how dare they put us into a situation in which UNICEF is having to come to the UK to feed children in the sixth, maybe seventh richest economy in the world. Richest country. Sorry, not economy. Country. Do you know what the richest economy in the world is? Probably America. Do you know what the second richest is? The EU. Anyway, moving swiftly on. The easiest deal in history. I wonder how that's working out from the fecal puny. Yeah, not so good. Diamond says, what's the Xmas schedule for HughesRound? I don't know because I don't know. That's a good question. I was going to address this in this episode. So let me just look at the calendar. So Christmas is Friday next week. So I'll tell you what, I will definitely be doing HughesRound on Monday the 21st, Tuesday the 22nd. I might do it on Wednesday the 23rd. I won't be able to do it on the 24th or 25th, and I'm going to have to repaint this wall behind me a nice colour. So that someone can stay here, I guess. Not green, obviously, because that doesn't go down too well. Although you can just see blue skies behind me, which is nice, even though it's actually a grey day outside. I should have a different backdrop, depending on the weather, shouldn't I? So it looks like it's live. Definitely Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. There will be, possibly Wednesday. I don't see any problem on Wednesday, but just in case we need to get things sorted. So definitely Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday next week. I'll be doing Hughes at 10 on Sunday. That'll be the next live thing that I do. And then in the new year, I'll hopefully be launching Hughes of the World. It's great having a surname like Hughes. It rhymes with news, so I can just use it in various ways. Just slap it in as a little pun there. But Hughes of the World is going to be all about travel. So I'm going to be traveling. So getting back to my roots. So Gaz in Liverpool will like that. My fellow Remainers, now rejoiners. I'm a born again rejoiner. Does that work? You might find it interesting, but that'll probably be on Tuesday night at 10 o'clock. We will have to see. Okay. Want to up my Patreon donations? May need your help to do so, as I found it difficult thus far. Okay, Elizabeth, I'll send you a message after this about Patreon. I honestly, I'm not that great at it myself. I'm not that great at publicising it, and I'm not that great at being able to sort out how it works. I had it set on US dollars for a very long time. But yeah, I'll have a look at it and see how it's done. And thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it, because it makes all the difference between being able to sort of use the free software to do what I need to do, or be able to actually get some premium add-ons, which makes it a lot easier for me to make the shows. So really appreciate that. Thank you. And thanks to all of my patrons, and also thanks to David for my microphone with the little Welsh flag on it. I know you can't see, because it's really small on the screen, but the Welsh dragon is actually doing a face palm in the little picture there. The Alistair Sims Scrooge is by far the best as I'm concerned, like the Albert Finney version too. Alistair Sims, was that in Oliver with an exclamation mark, which won the Best Picture Oscar in 1960, I want to say in 68. I'm sure it was one of those years before something from completely the other side of town strolled in and won the Oscar. So I think 69 was Midnight Cowboy. So I think 68 was Oliver with an exclamation mark. I think that was the last of the sort of the big musicals that won Oscars until Chicago. No, Chicago won that Oscar. Oh my word. Democracy, eh? Let them eat fish, says, I don't know how to pronounce this. I think it's Hoyton. 125. Keep running. Fish is a red herring. Paul Mason saying hi all. Hi. Daffod's there. Good afternoon, folks. Borida. Kevin Haggerty is saying, "Hi Graham, Brexit turns out nearly 18,000 US companies, both small and large, have been hacked via the back door by Russia. Everything from military to electricity companies since March the 19th." Yes, this is the story. Kevin, who's at the top there, is just saying this is a story about this huge Russian hack into just all aspects of American life, it seems. Not just the democracy, but now also filtering into businesses. And what has Trump done about this? Nothing. What's he said about it? Nothing. Because he doesn't really want to be president. He just wants loads of money and for people to line up to fellate him, essentially. Well, actually, that's actually what he just wants. And tell him how great he is. It's really, really pathetic. He reminds me of, and I'm going to lose some listeners, I'm going to lose some viewers at this, but he reminds me a little bit of the God of the Old Testament. You know, the one who went, "I'm going to make 10 rules. 10 rules, okay? I'm going to give them to you twice so you remember them, right? 10 rules, right? And the sixth will be don't kill people. And the eighth will be don't steal, something like that. Don't at me. But the first and most important one is that I'm jealous." What? Shouldn't you be setting an example, Mr. Inventor of the Universe? No, I'm a jealous God and you're not to have any other gods before me because I'm a jealous God. And you're like, wow, that's really weird. That's like if you made a robot, like an AI robot, and it looked almost human. And you made this thing to live in your house and get down on its knees for a few times every day and tell you how great you are. Everyone will think you're a bit of a weirdo. Everyone will be like, what? Why have you made a robot to say that you're great? Why would you do that? That's mad. But that's what the God of the Old Testament did. It's just, I want you all to worship me. Yeah, I made you, so say how great I am all the time. And I think that's the attitude that a lot of parents have towards their kids. That's why they're so disappointed. I think a lot of Brexiteers, older Brexiteers, have voted Brexit to get revenge on their children for not worshipping them and for not saying thank you. And if you want to see a really good scene from a film, a classic film, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? I think it's about 1967. I think Spencer Tracy, Kate Hepburn. It's got Sidney Poitier in. Did he win the Oscar for that? No, I think he won the Oscar for Thingy Heat. The one that was before They Call Me Mr. Tibbs. The one where he was a New York detective down in the deep south of America. In fact, interesting point. Sidney Poitier wasn't the first African American to win the Oscar. I think that they had to wait till Training Day before any African American won the Oscar. He was born in Bermuda, so he's technically British. And Bermuda's still part of Britain, by the way. It's still a British overseas territory, Bermuda. It's not a country in its own right. It doesn't have a seat on the UN or nothing. Anyway, I'm going badly off the point here. There's a great scene where Sidney Poitier tells his dad that he doesn't owe him anything and that his dad owes him everything because his dad made the choice to bring him into the world. And it is a fantastic, fantastic speech. And if you can look it up after watching this, go on YouTube and type in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Father Speech or something like that. It's dynamite. Anyway, so yeah, I think that people, they create these little people, these little crotch nuggets, and they're like, worship me. And the kids are like, oh, I'm going out with me mates. And they're like, oh, all right then, bye. Oh, they're not sitting around worshipping me all the time. I think I'll vote out of the EU and make their lives a bloody misery for the next 20 years. Anyway, right, back onto the things. Yeah, massive hack, massive Russian hack. Yay, Russia is so winning the great game 2.0. It is so winning. It is absolutely kicking our arses. It is undermining our democracy. It's breaking into our data streams. It is breaking into our imagination in ways that we don't really fathom because they fund not just bot farms and troll farms to prop up Trump and Brexit, but also anti-vax bullshit on the internet. A lot of it stems from Russian trolls putting this stuff on. So people in the West don't get vaccinated and more Westerners die. And then they get excited and go, oh, guess how many Westerners were killed this week, Boris? And they've got a big, well, he might not be called Boris, it's just a generic Russian name that I just thought of. But they have a big thing on the screen, you know, like a totalizer of how many Westerners they've managed to get to kill themselves. Like a bunch of lunatic lemmings, you know, the sign to paradise, and the lemmings are marching off the cliff into the lava. If anyone watched the 1992, played the 1992 Psygnosis video game, well, it was DMA design, wasn't it? God, it's so cool the way I know all this stuff, isn't it? No, really not cool at all, Graham. Anyway, back to Jim Bob says, Watcher. David says, seasonal greetings. Silent Majority is another favourite catch-all. Yes. Silent Majority. I read an article today in the Eye, and I don't know why I'm pointing so much. They said that I'm now pointing at this hand. Just stop pointing, Graham. I was reading an article today in the Eye, and it said pretty much that, like, we are the new Silent Majority, the rejoiners, as we are from now on. So the trade deal is resting on a fishing deal. I believe this to be a cod in the water, and the Tories are not wanting a deal. Period. Daffy, I think they're desperate for a deal. I think they want to show that they're not desperate for a deal, but they are absolutely desperate for a deal. Think about last week when Boris Johnson was busy calling up his counterparts in Europe. Can I speak to Angela, please? Can I speak to Angela? And she's like, her secretary's like, oh no, Angela's busy washing her hair. And he tried to do the same to Macron. Probably gave him COVID down the phone. I don't know. But yeah, they refused. They refused to speak to him. They refused. Fair enough. Oliver Twist again. Yeah, that's it. David says, should have the live street camera playing behind you. Yes, but then I would have to pay the nice people who own the. This is a shot from the top of the St. John's Beacon, which is also known as the Radio City Tower. It's an absolute abomination that was built in the late 60s or the early 70s as part of the absolute abomination that is the St. John's shopping precinct. And it was to cover up the fact that there was going to be a big chimney. Because, you know, why build a shopping centre if you can't have a big chimney coming out of it? They're sexy. So they built this sort of crow's nest thing in the middle of Liverpool out of concrete. I think it looks absolute bobbins. Some people like it. I don't know. Maybe they've got Stockholm Syndrome. I generally don't like modern architecture. I could do a whole series about how shit modern architecture is because it destroys culture. Because any piece of modern art, modern architecture. Oh God, I'm sounding like the gammon there. Bloody Turner Prize. I love the Turner Prize, I've got to say, because it annoys people who read the Daily Mail. That's the only reason I like the Turner Prize. But my problem with modern architecture, pretty much everything built after the 1950s, is that you could pick it up from one place in the world and drop it somewhere else. There was no intrinsic, classic sense of culture embedded in I was going to say stone, but not made of stone. They're made of concrete. Anyway, so the Radio City Tower is this 440-foot tower that pierces the skyline of Liverpool. I've got a radio station up there. Now, I would have to ask the people who owned it to use their webcam. I think they've got a webcam up there. So I could maybe tap into it, but they'll probably charge me. Yeah. Oh, God, that went down the wrong hole. That's what she said. Right, moving swiftly on. I have some hubcaps going spare, Graham. Matching pair. Oh, that's good. Matching pair. Don't I need 4? Then again, you could have different hubcaps on each side of the car and no one would ever know. Is your table decorated with currency? Yes, it is. Thank you for noticing. It actually extends quite far back here, but this is basically money that I collected. Money I collected in a hat. No, this is money from around the world. So I've got Libyan money here with Colonel Gaddafi. I've got some Iraqi money somewhere with the Colonel Gaddafi one's funny. He looks like he's forgotten his car keys or something. He's kind of like this in the picture. It's very weird. I've got one of Saddam Hussein in Iraq. I've got the Samoan rugby sevens are featured on their note in Samoa. I've got the Seychelles here. Got the Bank of Belize. Got Fiji, which has the Queen on it smiling, which is a bit disconcerting. That's Uruguay. That's Seychelles. That's Indonesia over there. And yeah, that's, oh God, I don't know what that is. I think that's Uzbekistan. But well done for noticing. No one's picked me up on that yet. But yeah, this is my table of currency, and I've just put a bit of glass on top of it. Yes. Dear Graham, fuck off. Your beard makes me feel uncomfortable. Oh, I don't think she's that bad. I think she's a lovely person. She's not going to like hearing that. Did you pay the lecky today, Graham? Not today. I think it's monthly. Welsh cunt. Okay. That's not very nice, is it? I'm going to do this is the first time I've done this. Watch this. Block user. Oh, brilliant. Add block user on YouTube. There you go. See you later. Greetings from Paris. Prawn, Dart, time of day. Give us back our fish or we will send in the warships. Right, I'm going to skip some. Defending modern architecture. What about the Sydney Opera House? The Sydney Opera House would look great in New York or in Denmark, where the designer was from. This is my point. Like, you can say, okay, that's a noticeable bit of architecture. And it might be interesting to look at on the outside, but the inside is crap. The inside is concrete, right? Which is terrible for acoustics. So, Opera House, terrible acoustics. They don't add up. So they ended up putting carpet on the wall because the inside was designed by a committee. The outside was designed by a Danish bloke, and it's all vertical tiles. If you go close up to it, it's the same vertical tiles that they use on the bogs in the 1960s outside King's Cross Circus. No, King's Cross Station. King's Cross Station. So yeah, I would like to have seen something a bit more Australian as a celebration of Australia. It's the same thing with Federation Square in Melbourne, which looks like someone's got some sheds, some metal sheds, and they brought them in on a big helicopter and they just dumped them, and they're kind of crumpled and fallen in. And it's one of those buildings that you look at and you think, they're going to have a problem with water getting in. I'm sure they're going to have a problem with water getting in because it's all like jaunty roofs and things. It's not like a pitched roof like a normal place. It's all jaunty. It's all like, angles and stuff. And it leaks. But the punchline is it was built to commemorate 100 years of Australian Federation. So I think it should have finished in 2002. It actually finished a couple of years after that. But it was designed by a design company, an architectural firm from the UK. And I don't get it. I think that if you're going to build stuff, even if it's in a modern style, it should be local architects, local materials, because this is important. So slate in North Wales, obviously, is an important way of building buildings that look Welsh. And obviously stone in Yorkshire, and in Liverpool, the red sandstone that we use to clad the great cathedral, the Anglican cathedral, which is actually a modern building. It's a concrete building. They just clad it with stone, so it looks like it's 400 years old, and actually it wasn't finished till the early 70s. Anyway, yes, that's the point. Trying to define Brexit is like catching air with your hands. Yes, or clapping, I guess. Is that clapping? Sugar free lol. Thank goodness MA has gone. Yes, I noticed. Sorry, that was our first troll. That was actually, I think, that was our first troll of HughesRound. That's quite impressive, considering anyone can watch this and anyone can comment, although they possibly shouldn't. Hello from Birmingham, says 7. Hello, Birmingham. Plumduff, how far is the pound going to drop after Brexit and house prices drop? Probably a lot. Probably a lot. A lot. The only good thing about that is I owe loads of money. So it might be easier for me to pay back stuff. But also, if I'm going to be making money in pounds, it's going to be worth less for travelling, which used to be my bread and butter. Just about to write my Christmas cards. Wondering how much postage will cost next year. That's from Chokal. Well, you know what? If the Tories have their way, they're going to privatise. Well, the post office is already nominally privatised, isn't it? But it's not quite, but it is. It's all a bit. I don't understand when you have a service that is a monopoly, a natural monopoly, how you can open it up to other companies selling the same thing. So I understand with mobile phones, you can have lots of different companies using the same technology. That's fine. But you can't have two water companies pumping water into your house and you can choose which one you want. There's got to be one. And so you've got all these monopolies around the country that can just be as crap as they like. And you've got to pay exorbitant amount of money to use their water or flush your shit down the toilet into the sewers. And that to me is a bit odd. Trains are the same. You can't run 2 trains simultaneously on the same bit of track. And the way that the train system is set up in the United Kingdom is just crazy. Like you go from I'm trying to get home to Liverpool, so I'm traveling from Durham, and we stop in York. Why do we stop in York? Well, because we need a conductor for the train. There's no conductor on the train from York, and so we've got to wait for them. So there's a half-hour delay waiting for a conductor to get on the train, or a cleaner, or a driver, right? Now, if the trains were nationalised, or at least run by one overriding body like TfL, which I'm envious of the existence of TfL. I wish we had something similar in the north, but we don't. And they have to wait half an hour, 45 minutes for someone to turn up for work. Whereas if they all pooled their resources, so there wasn't 17 different train companies stopping at York, you could just pick someone off. They'll work for the same company. You wouldn't have to wait for the next LNER person or the next cross-country person or the next Trans-Pennine Express person, because they're all working for different companies with different payrolls and different pay rates and different pensions. It's just, it just takes something that should be fairly simple, not the train network, because obviously that's quite complex, but it's taking something that should be fairly simple and making it complex, and then taking something that is complex, like the train service, and making it even more complex. Because if there's a train on the track and it's one company but it's not the other company, and then that company makes you late, is that company going to pay your compensation, or is it the company the train that you're on? Oh my god, why are you doing this way? It's so stupid, but that's the mentality. No common sense. Common sense says if you've got a commodity that can only have one thing at one point in time, there's no option, there's no way of opening up to competition really, then that's it. You say, okay, well, we will, unless you're going to have like 27 different train tracks and each train can run on its own tracks, which would be crazy as well. Unless you're going to have several different water pipes coming into people's houses, it doesn't work. Just doesn't work. Not common sense. And the post, as I was about to come back to, is again, you're not going to get a postal service like DHL or FedEx or anyone, or God, heaven forbid, Hermes, going out to these islands to drop off a letter for 50p. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're not going to do it because it's not worth their while to take a boat or take a plane out to the Outer Hebrides to drop a letter off. That's where you need a nationalised postal service. Anyway, back on to the messages. Good day today. This is David. My last day of working for the NHS as an intensive community psychiatric nurse for 23 years. Looking forward to peace and quiet. Oh, congratulations, David. Wow. So what are you planning for the next few years? Are you just going to join me in the fight to rejoin the EU? Because that'd be great. Plum Duff says, Chucksal, sorry to hear that. Perhaps spot a dick instead. I've missed. Oh, hang on. I've got a message about Scandinavia. The Oslo Opera House is a good example. It's very Scandinavian minimalism and designed to look like an iceberg on the fjord. Okay, great. That if it's designed by someone from the country, I've got a lot less of a problem with it. And also, I mentioned materials. With something you make of brick or something you make of stone, there's a history to the actual commodities that you're making or the materials that you're building out of. If it's wood, there's a history in that you can read. You can read the lines. You know you can see when you can see the wood's history. You can read it. It's called dendrochronology or something. It's like working out what years were good because they'll give you a fat line, and then what years were bad they'll give a thin line because it grew less. There was less sunshine or rain or whatever they needed. And it tells a story, whereas concrete and glass have no history. They just have no story. They're not generally from the country that the stuff is built in. I once met a guy, this is no word of a lie, hang on, I've got to drink more of this because it's going cold. Yeah, I've reached the point now I can't drink anymore because it's just going too cold. I met a guy in Kuwait who worked in aggregate, is the word aggregate, I think. He basically brought in building supplies for people in Kuwait who were building stuff. And one of the things he brought in was sand, because The sand that they have in the desert that surrounds Kuwait is very spherical, apparently, and it doesn't make good building material. You can't really use it for cement and concrete, whatever. So they have to ship in more coarse-grained sand that actually locks into each other because of all the different facets. It's less like a little ball and more like a sort of 12-sided dice or something. His job was literally selling sand to the Arabs, which I thought was amazing, and I thought he should have it on his business card, but he didn't. Oh well, never mind. So my 13 quid in savings might go up. Maybe. Look at this. I saw an old clip of David Niven. Love David Niven. The Moon's a Balloon. Great book by him. Autobiography. Interviewed by Malcolm Parkinson. Niven wisely said, in the US, UK, France, Germany, etc., the national sport is football or some variant of it. In Russia, it's chess. Yes, indeed. You want to watch The Queen's Gambit? It's very good. And there's a lad in it, and you'll be like, what's he out of? What's he out of? You'd be like this, what's he out of? All the way through, what's he out of? And then it will slowly dawn on you that he played Dursley out of Harry Potter. He was a little fat kid in Harry Potter, but he's not fat anymore. But his eyes are still too close together. But, good actor. He was also in the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, if anyone watched that. F Booth 90 says, I'm a touring musician that made the majority of my income playing concerts in the EU, waiting to see if that will be possible anymore. Well, it's going to be very, very difficult. Apparently, as a band, you're going to have to sign off every single instrument. If there's wood used in the instrument, that requires a different sign-off. You might have to pay for all of the forms. You might have to pay some money for bringing the instruments into the country, which then will get refunded at some point in the future when you take the instruments out of the country. It's not going to be as simple as just literally touring around Europe anymore. And people go, but people used to tour around Europe in the 60s, says like the millionaire who was the front man of the Who. And you're like, well, hang on, the only bands who could afford to actually do that, like a world tour style thing, even just around Europe, were bands that were really big. If you think about the Beatles, they went to Munich. And they Hamburg. And they played in Hamburg. They didn't do a massive tour of Europe. They didn't go to Spain. They didn't go to France. Or they didn't hear about it, or Denmark. They just stayed in Germany and played loads of tunes. One of the things about the Beatles, though, that is worth bearing in mind is they really did play a lot of music. A lot of music. They would play these massive sessions when they were in these Hamburg nightclubs. And people would shout out songs for them to play. So they had to play by ear, like loads of different rock and roll classics and songs and whatever. They might be asked to play folk tunes. I don't know. Maybe that's where the theme from Eleanor Rigby came from. But that amount of work they had to put in, that was basically their training, them cutting their teeth in order to then go on and become the Beatles that we know and love. But 12 amazing albums in 8 years. 12 amazing albums in 8 years. No one has ever even come close to that kind of awesomeness. So if anyone says the Beatles are overrated, they're going to be in trouble. I bet someone puts it in the comments now. Okay. 100 messages. Don't worry about the postal service. Amazon will take over before long once we don't have any workers' rights anymore. Yeah, Amazon's bought up a lot of warehousing space apparently in the UK in preparation for Brexit, which all the companies should have done. I think a lot of companies were just like, it'll probably never happen. And now it's actually happening. They're like, what do we do? I'm like, well, nobody knows. Go on the website, go on the government's website. Get ready for Brexit, it says. Get ready for Brexit. And you look on the website, it tells you bugger all. It actually tells you next to nothing. Nothing that you wouldn't be able to sort of suss out by yourself. Things are going to change. Okay? What do we do about it? Well, we don't know yet, but things are going to change. The Hunger Games have started in the UK. Participants have already started. Children and UNICEF, more will join. That's from Thor. Linda says, like UNICEF have come to feed children here. Yep. I'm staying on as a volunteer director of a small housing association for the short term. Then I'll be running the library with other oldies to keep warm and save on heating. Okay, that's great, David. But continue to watch this channel and present me with beautiful microphones with Welsh flags on. Sugar Free says when Rees-Mogg was saying that UNICEF work in countries where there is hunger, civil war, etc. I was like, yeah, Yeah. That's where they normally work. Places where there is civil war or some kind of, I don't know, kleptocracy. Some place where the government just seems to want to line its own pockets with the nation's cash and doesn't give a hoot about who suffers as a result of their shady dealings. £11 billion has gone. £11 billion to the friends of the Conservative Party. Library still open, get you. Mog is an absolute wanker, I think Plum Duff was about to say, before being rudely cut off there. Amazing that the government is likely to let national postage die. Trollope turning in his grave thanks to the likes of Rees-Mogg seems weird. Yeah, well, there you go. Thanks, Graham, nailed it. Well, yeah, I think we were talking about the musician thing there. It's going to be so difficult for gigging musicians. And after coming off the back of this horrible year when all gigs and festivals have had to be called off, I just really despair. I really, really despair. And along with video games and period dramas, music is one of Britain's biggest and most important exports. If you think about the music that we listen to, nearly all of it comes from just 3 countries. And I'm not disparaging any other places because and I know there's a lot of good world music, and I know ABBA and Sigur Rós and Arcade Fire. Yeah, I get it. But the vast majority of the music that I heard when I was traveling around the world were from 3 countries: Jamaica, the US, and the UK. And to take the opportunity from young up-and-coming musicians to be able to play their music in other countries, especially after this year, it would have been cruel anyway. But it's just adding insult to injury, and the amount of young lives that are going to be ruined by this, and the amount of careers, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that there's enough people out there who think that if you have a talent but you weren't born rich, then you don't deserve to share that talent with the world, and that's horrible. And it's very hard for musicians, and anyone watching this who's a musician will know this. It's very hard to make money from your music these days because of downloading. It's just upended the whole market. The way musicians make money is by touring, is by playing gigs. This is why you get like these amazingly old guys like Leonard Cohen going on a world tour at the age of like 81 because he had a massive tax bill to pay. So it was the only way he was going to get it, even though his songs are some of the most played and re-recorded songs and covered songs of all time. Hallelujah was sung by, I don't know, Jenna someone from X Factor a few years ago. It was Christmas #1. So, he probably got about £2.50 out of that. Well, maybe a bit more, but, not much compared with going on tour. And to cut British musicians out of that market, being able to go to Spain and France and Greece, is a disgrace. And also, it's I don't know, it takes a lot of the fun out of being a musician. The excitement of waking up somewhere new and playing a gig in the sun rather than around some gentleman's working club in Rochdale. It just elevates the whole experience. And yeah, again, the whole Brexit ideology just seems to be to take everything that I care about and everything that I love about this country and just shit all over it. That's Brexit in a nutshell for me. And the way that it's been allowed to go on now to such an extent that we're still waiting on Michel Barnier to say, yes, the fish. Yeah, it's going to be like the man from Del Monte, isn't it? Going, yeah, the bananas are ripe. It's going to be like, yes, the man from the EU says we can have our fish that we don't eat. Yeah! And then the helicopters come flying overhead and everyone's like, yay, we get our fish now. It starts raining fish. Everyone's dancing with fish. They're licking the fish. They're rubbing it against their faces. Yeah, got this fish. Yay. Oh, what am I going to do with all this fish that no one eats and no one wants to buy because, fish. What about ABBA? I said ABBA. Linda, I specifically mentioned them by name. Anyway, I think Aqua were better, if we're going to... Oh, they're from Denmark? Okay. I think Aha were better. What is this Scandinavian thing where all the bands had to begin with the letter A? Oh, no, Lord, they didn't, did they? The only thing I liked about the Beatles was blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to read the rest of that, Anthony, you blasphemer. Are you ready for what? For changes? What changes? For the changes you need to be ready, etc. Poor Kafka. It is, isn't it? You remind me of the man. What man? The man with the power. What power? The power of hoodoo. Hoodoo? You do. I do what? You remind me of the man. Live reaction to Indie Stage Live. Go do it. We can watch both. Oh, yeah, Indie Sage. Sorry, that's Mike Galsworthy's thing, isn't it? That's going on at the moment. Sorry. Sorry for interrupting. If you're interested in the COVID side of things, I would suggest actually flicking over and watching them instead right now, because they know a lot more about it than I do. Hunger Games could be Soylent Green next. Yep, Soylent Green. Soylent Green is people. Slightly off topic, but I once saw a German Motorhead cover band in an Irish bar in Berlin. That was fun. It should not be harder to do that in the future. Yeah, Charlie, it shouldn't be harder, but it bloody well is, because of bloody bastard Brexit. The stupidest thing that any country has ever done since it's a royal knockout. In fact, probably more stupid than that even. Latest R number range for the UK, 1.1, 1.2. Let's celebrate Christmas. Give your granny a hug. Give your granny a hug. And give her the most deadly disease that the world has seen for generations. I know, but it's real when you're standing in the checkout with your food basket. Perfect description of a bit of Keller's Catch 22. Yeah. On music subject, this is number one for Christmas. Asian Dub Foundation. Stuart Lee. The Kinks. Yeah. Graham, what are your thoughts about the cabinet that Jeremy Corbyn formed? Personally, I thought it was one of the best cabinets I've ever seen for 44 years. What are your thoughts? Well, I obviously disagree, because it was formed by Jeremy Corbyn, who's privately educated, and had John McDonnell, who was privately educated, and they were being advised by Andrew Fisher and Andrew Murray, who were privately educated, and the Andrew Fisher, Andrew Murray, God, there's so many Andrews, and then you had the head of the NEC, Jenny Formby, and you had the head of Momentum, John Landsman, who weren't in the cabinet, but no. Quite frankly, no. I mean, Rebecca Long Bailey, not a real powerhouse, I don't think. And a lot of the cabinet members were stifled in their ability to support the Remain movement, and that's something I'm never, ever going to forgive Jeremy Corbyn for. The Remain movement had a lot of problems with it, but it could have worked. It could have worked, but the one thing that we needed that we didn't have was the support of the leader of the opposition. When there were hundreds of thousands of people marching on the street against the far right-wing flagship policy of the Conservative Party, you expect the Labour leader to fucking well join us. And he didn't. Why? Because he just wanted to, I don't know, live out his fantasies as this amazing person who does things, but no one can tell you what he does. Like the Wizard of Oz. We hear he is a Wizard of a Wiz, if ever a Wiz there was. If ever there was a Wizard of Oz, the Wizard of Oz is one because, have no answer, because of the wonderful things he does, which is my attitude to Corbyn. And then the three things that I always point out when we talk about his cabinet or his manifesto, his policies. First of all, no hint of UBI, Universal Basic Income, wasn't there. Secondly, no hint to a reform of the electoral system, wasn't there. No full-bodied shout to rejoin the EU, stop the Tories, stop Brexit. That wasn't there either. So those are the things that I might have gone for for a Labour cabinet. But you wee with the willy you've got, I guess. I wasn't going to use the actual terminology that I was going to use because it's only 1:45 in the afternoon. I love Leonard, said Plum Duff. Yes, Leonard was absolutely awesome. I think my breakdown in 2016 wasn't caused by Brexit. It wasn't caused by Trump. Well, I mean, it was a culmination of all that shit. Losing Bowie, losing Prince, but then we lost Leonard Cohen a couple of days after we found out that we lost him a couple of days after the American election, and Trump won. And it was devastating. But good innings. He got past the 27 club. He got past the 72 club. I think he was about 83 or 84 when he popped his clogs. Do you like Jeff Buckley's cover of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah? Yes, I do. But I think it's been ruined by Shrek. Did they use the Jeff Buckley version, or did they use a different version? I think it's another version. But yeah, very good. One of my favourite songs actually was written by Jeff's dad, Tim Buckley, Song to the Siren. And his version of it is all right, but a really haunting version by the Cockatoo Twins under the label The Mortal Coil, This Mortal Coil. Well worth checking out. I think they use it in one of the David Lynch movies. Maybe Lost Highway. Can't remember. Anyway, I played Hamburg last summer in a semi-derelict bomb-proof radar and missile facility left from World War II. That sounds boss. I want to do that. I thought that it was 1973 when Heath's pen hit the paper. What a devious twat. Very glitzy. Brexit is the murder of solidarity. Yeah. Yep, completely. Only shat on the former culture apart from posh bastards staffing culture or spaffing culture. No one wants to eat fish because it's too expensive, and it wasn't when we had our own fleet. Yeah, all that fish getting warm under the tree, ready for Xmas. Yum! It's raining fish. I'm going to skip a few there. I was there shouting, "Where's Jeremy Corbyn?" outside the conference. I was there at Glastonbury in 2017 when at the end of June when we had this thing. Jeremy Corbyn came out on stage and thousands of people flocked to see him speak. Well, actually, no, they didn't, because there was loads of people there anyway, because he came on between the bands when everyone just stands around, tries to decide whether they're going to bother going to the Portaloo or not, or maybe just pee into a cup. He came on stage, so it was like great. And then what happened a few moments before he came out on stage, because I was there, the stage door to the left of the stage opened up, and a load of groupies came out with homemade signs, like fake homemade signs, saying "We love Jeremy." And they were led into the crowd by a security guy who basically pushed everyone out the way so they could be near the front of the crowd. It was all very, very stage managed. And I was there with my absolutely massive bollocks to Brexit flag. And it was yellow with I've actually got it in the corner of this room. I could go and get it and show you. My bollocks to Brexit flag. And I had that, and I was swaying it around. And he completely ignored Brexit. It was like the elephant in the room. He just didn't mention it at all. And then he did another talk a little bit later on, which doesn't get as much publicised, in a tent on the other side of the site. And I was there again with my flag, waving it around, going, "Bloody Brexit, stop Brexit." And I got told by some old guy to, if it should say "bollocks to democracy," that flag. And he was a big Corbyn supporter. And that's when I knew, even at that very sort of early stage, that like we're not going to get anywhere with this, because if you're in a war or you're in a battle and the enemy are in front of you, you've got a chance, right? If while you're fighting the enemy in front of you, your allies, who are supposed to be your allies, are stabbing you from behind, you're kind of stuffed, aren't you? Yeah, kind of stuffed, and that's what happened with that. So yeah, I was there. Denise from the library says, "My chap has farms for years. He says we can be self-sufficient in meat, but the issue is not enough abattoirs or skilled staff or trained vets. Thinks another shortage will be chickens and eggs, particularly with bird flu circulating as well." Yeah, a load of turkeys had to be terminated, didn't they? Before Christmas because of this. They used the Leonard Cohen version in Shrek. I love Tim Buckley. My favourite was Once I Was. Having a bit of a Buckley love in here. Cockatoo Twins are class. Overslept. Ahoy! That's a Bayerberg. No way. Corbyn optics at Glastonbury. Wow. Yeah, it was all very managed. It really was. And I guess that sort of summed it up. The way that the attitude of Jeremy Corbyn reminded me that of some people that I met from bands when I used to work at the Manchester Academy. I met a lot of famous people. I met Eminem. I met Brett Anderson from Suede. I met all these people. And some of them, like Brett Anderson, they were kind of had this attitude that they were sort of above everyone. They didn't have time for the little people. They didn't have time for the people working behind the bar. They didn't have time for the people, the punters who wouldn't sign anything. Whereas Bernard Butler played a one-off, a single-man show. And he was great. He came out after the gig from the green room, essentially. And he stood and had a chat with his fans, and they were asking him about chord progressions and stuff, and the writing of different Suede songs and all this kind of stuff. And that's the difference. And when I've met politicians, they sort of fall into one of the two categories. You have the people who are prepared to hang around and have a chat with you, which include people that I would not necessarily have expected, like Dominic Grieve, who was at the What Do We Do Now Remainer conference back in January in Liverpool in London, and then you have people like Jeremy Corbyn, who comes across more like a Brett Anderson, who just sort of had this thing of like, I don't need to talk to you. I don't want to interact with you. I don't want to discuss anything with you. I've got nothing to say. And we'll just walk off. And it wasn't just the media that he did that to. It was us as well. It was people saying, Jeremy, can you do something about Brexit, please? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Wouldn't discuss it with us. And have that air of like, I don't even need to discuss this with you. Now, I have to say, in Brett Anderson's defence, he's now awesome because one of my friends managed to get him and the band to sign a copy of the Blue Hour album by them with and an EU flag inside it, because she told them about the fact that in my obviously my EU campaigning, but in my book Man of the World, one of the chapters is called Europe Is Our Playground, which was a Suede song. So bringing it all full circle there. But that's another reason why I didn't like him. And to be honest with you, I don't know if Keir Starmer's any better in that respect. I've not been in the same sort of circle as him in any kind of way. But if he did have the opportunity to talk to Labour members, or maybe people who aren't Labour members who just want to talk to him about stuff, and he was quite dismissive of them, I think, or he went out the back door so he wouldn't have to speak to them, that will make me think less of him. He hasn't done that yet to me personally, but if someone's got a story about that, I'd love to hear it. So we're coming up to the end of this now, so we're going to reduce our Corbyn emissions. Yeah, well, he still manages to get into the news, doesn't he? I'm going to make an announcement tomorrow. Oh, great. Why is it in the news? And people go, stop going on about Corbyn, Graham. I'm like, I will stop going on about him when he fucks off, when he just goes away, when he just doesn't do things anymore. The Equalities and Human Rights Commission report came out, and before the leader of the Labour Party had spoken about it, he didn't have the decency to wait until the leader had made a statement. No, you have to be in there on Facebook. Oh, this is all overblown. Oh, it's all bullshit. Blah, 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 blah. It's been overblown by the media. Yeah, no anti-Semitism here. Blah. And you're like, oh my God, really? Really? Did you have to do that? No, of course he didn't have to do that. And then he gets thrown out the party, quite rightly, and stripped of his whip. And then the party, because it makes up its own rules and it doesn't have an independent arbitrator, says, yeah, we'll let him back in. Alistair Campbell is still not a member of the Labour Party because he was kicked out for admitting that he voted the Lib Dems in the European election. European election to elect some MEPs for 6 months. Wow. Yeah, bringing the party into disrepute. Oh, we love it. They hate it when you say that. It's a cult. Don't know what we're saying here. Oh, it's a freckled puny. I missed something there. As I kept saying to Brexiteers, democracy is not a single vote on a singular topic at a given date. It's an ongoing process which includes debate, scrutiny, agreement and disagreement. Well, absolutely. And the big comeback to that is after the referendum in 1975 on whether we should stay membership of the EEC, the Eurosceptics didn't shut up. They kept going on about it and on about it and on about it. Led to the downfall of Thatcher, led to fucking Farage's bloody rise as the head of UKIP, replacing bloody Kilroy off the telly. Remember him? Yeah, he started it, the fucker. So basically, yeah. There you go. Be daft. UBI payments will be time-stamped. Use them or they disappear. Saving is not allowed. And they want to cut unnecessary consumption, so no need of extra money. Well, no, I mean, this is the thing. Like, UBI would be 12 grand a year, right? Because that's your tax-free allowance. 12 grand. So any work that you do after that, you get taxed on. So if you make more money, you get more You pay basically what you got back anyway. In the same way that at the moment, if you earn £500,000 a year, you probably don't because you probably evade tax. But if you pay the tax that you owe, you will probably pay more than the 12 grand that you were allocated in tax-free savings. Tax-free allowance, I should say. Check out Specs375. Check out his Twitter. Do yourself a favour. I think I'm following. That Twitter handle looks familiar. I think I am. Jeremy, the self-proclaimed victim. Yes, he's the victim in all this. Such gaslighting. Gaslighting 101. And this is something that I've said since the beginning. He's a gaslighter. He has his own way of twisting things to make him always seem to be the victim. It's never his fault. It's never his fault. And you see how all his lackeys are so desperate to tell people that people in the northern the northern wall, the red wall, it was about Brexit. It was about Brexit. Was it? How come you got so many votes in 2017 then? Eh? What? If it was about Brexit, what? Hang on. No, that doesn't compute. If you actually bothered to go and talk to people in the north and knock on doors and say hello, you will discover very quickly, as nearly all northern MPs did, is that people absolutely fucking hated Jeremy Corbyn. And I'll say it again. He was the least popular politician in a major party, in a democracy, in the world. He had an approval rating of -40. For comparison, the worst approval rating that Trump ever got was -15. And people really, really, really hate Trump. So just draw your own conclusions from that. Everyone who voted Conservative hated him. Well, they probably liked him because he kept the Conservatives afloat, didn't he? But and people who voted Labour normally, people who have voted Labour all their lives, like myself, we were thrown into the wilderness and we were left politically homeless by this motherfucker who came into our house and said, right, out you go. Why? Well, because you want to stay in the EU, you bastards. How dare you? How double dare you? But yeah, we're going to get a great deal. We're going to get a great deal in a few hours' time. Because no deal is off the table. And this is another failing of Corbyn. In October last year, he said he's not going to go forward with the general election until the threat of no deal was taken off the table. So after October the 31st, he went, oh, good, no deal's been taken off the table. So why are we talking about no deal then? Because it was never off the table. While the Tories were in charge, it was always a possibility. You dickhead. Jeremy Corbyn. So yeah, he went for an election, and so did Joe Swinson, who's also a dickhead. But yeah, this is why we are where we are. These individuals who just get on this big narcissistic streak, like, oh yeah, I'm the best thing since sliced bread, with no one around them to say, oi, wind your neck in, dickhead. Which is what everyone needs, because otherwise you end up like George Lucas, where you spend 20 years with everyone telling you that you are literally a god, and then you make a film and everyone is terrified to say, that's a bit of a shit idea, George, and you end up making Star Wars Episode 1. Let that be a warning to anybody who gets that George Lucas syndrome. He's calmed down a lot now, and he seems quite reasonable about it. I'm sure if they let him near some sort of Star Wars property, he might make a good hash of it this time. But, got to admit, The Mandalorian, nothing to do with George Lucas, except, he came up with the characters. It's really, really good. Right, so it is 1,400 hours. It's 2 o'clock, so I'm going to have to wrap up in a moment. £12,000 is a maximum. It's a minimum. I knew he wouldn't win, and the twats would win. Yeah, the North hated Corbyn, but that really wanted Brexit. It's a really weird scenario. No, people didn't really want Brexit. But one of the things that the Labour Party should have done is used all of their massive amounts of resources and time and energy and activists and funneled it into basically educating people. Because 62% of our media in this country is owned by the same 3 billionaires. You aren't going to get any facts from newspapers. You can't get a reasoned debate on the BBC because their idea of a reasoned debate is to get a scientist who knows what they're talking about, Nobel Prize winner, and a village idiot and put them in the studio together And the village, the Nobel Prize laureate says, well, you know, this is the data that we've seen, and you know, obviously we can't say categorically that this has caused it, but we're 99.9% sure. Oh, you can't say categorically, can you? Oh, well, there you go. It says the village idiot eating a bit of straw and falling off a dry stone wall. Yeah, so that's how we are where we are. So basically, they should have used that. Use their abilities to get out to their members and to get information out. They should have used that, even if it was just a form of emails, like weekly emails to all Labour members saying, this is going really, really badly. I think we need to do something about this, would have been immeasurably helpful. But it wasn't. They didn't do it because they're all privately educated twats who want the worst for the nation, I assume. I don't know. I just want done with all of them. A few good things that happened this year is Jeremy Corbyn stopped being leader of the Labour Party and Trump got voted out from America. Yeah, I don't think this is the end of populism, unfortunately, but hopefully it's the beginning of the end, shall we say. There's a new political party covering the north of England, Northern Independence Party. It covers Liverpool, Sheffield, Leeds, up to Newcastle, Cumbria, and up to the border. Well, yeah, Martha, that sounds great, but here's my big but. Under the first past the post system, it doesn't matter. We've got to address this, and I'll talk about this. I've talked about this before in podcasts and things, but we really need to address the first past the post system. And the way to do that is for Labour to form a coalition and win the next election in a coalition where Labour stands aside in certain seats. But whether they're prepared to do that or not is another matter. So dry stone walls are beautiful. I agree, sugar-free. I absolutely agree. Choxal says, sounds good. They all work together against a shower. Yeah. The North did want Brexit. The Red Wall voted blue. It's a very strange tabloid educated scenario. 7, I think you're wrong there. If you actually look at the numbers nationwide, the Tories only increased their vote from 2017. Remember the disastrous election of 2017 when Theresa May just massively failed in every way it was possible to fail, just kept on repeating strong and stable like some weird half-melted Barbie whose string had sort of got on this elastic thing, just the same repetitive phrase over and over again. Yeah, she lost her majority and she had to team up with the DUP. Remember that? Yeah. Yeah. They only got 300,000 more votes than that time. 300,000 more votes than they got in 2017. Labour, on the other hand, lost 2.5 million votes. And one of them was me. Actually, no, I didn't vote for them in 2017 either. I stood for election. I voted for myself. But yeah, 2.5 million votes they lost. So this narrative about northern voters moving from the Labour lot to the Conservatives, it's not true. It's just put out there as an excuse for Labour's, well, Jeremy Corbyn's shitness, and to try and have this idea that everyone in the North actually really wants to be a Tory, and all the people around here in Durham, they're like, yeah, you know, we like being shat on by Margaret Thatcher. They just stayed at home. They just didn't vote. This is what happens. You don't win elections by changing people's minds. You win elections by getting your side out to vote more than the other, which is what the Democrats did in the election in America this year. Those people who went door to door, knocking and made people sign up to join. Actually, they didn't do that, did they? But before then, obviously, in the midterms, they had gone door to door knocking, asking people to sign up to vote, and that's something that we should do in the UK. We should have vote drives, because what we got? 60% people voting, 66% if we're lucky. PR, yes. PR now, yes. PR. I think we're all agreed on PR. The North of England should break off with Scotland. Yeah, John. I think that did happen, Gene. I think that it would have to be a separate country. I don't think it could be part of Scotland. I think it would be a bit unfair to Scotland. Does that sound really bad? I don't know. But I think that, yeah. But I don't know if I want Yorkshire. Sorry, that's terrible, isn't it? Can you keep Yorkshire, please? all these people from Yorkshire are going to be like, wah, 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 wah. No. I'm a Lancastrian. Liverpool used to be part of the county of Lancaster. So we won the War of the Roses, apparently. Right, I'm getting off now. Stay safe, Graham. Stay safe, folks. Thanks, Graham. See you all Sunday evening. So yeah, I'll be back on Sunday evening at 10 p.m. hopefully to talk about the deal that is imminent, whether we get it or not. And it's definitely gonna definitely have a deal by then. Maybe. But we'll see what the practicalities are going to be. But yeah, if you want to have a say, don't annoy Phil, says Choxol. You'll be very welcome to come and join me. In the meantime, if you can pop over to my Patreon page, if you haven't already sponsored me on Patreon, I'm just going to type it into the message box quickly before I run away. It's just going to make loads of noise on the microphone because it's really sensitive, this microphone. I can't spell. Patreon.com/that ginger scouser. There you go. Okay, so if anyone wants to pop over there and just throw literally just a few quid in the pot, I'd really appreciate it because all these little bells and whistles all add up. And I don't mind doing this for free, but I don't want to be out of pocket. That's like the story of my life. That should be the name of my autobiography. Right, so yes, I will see you all on, well, not all of you, but people who want to watch, on Sunday evening at 10 p.m. for the Hughes at 10. Until then, I'll just say hello, good evening, welcome.